As an avid Oilers fan and a lifelong Oilers fan at that, my friends, I would tell you one thing as you tune into this video, seeing the title that you saw. Do not think at all I'm telling you to bet on the Oilers, because this is not a betting video. If that's what you came for, I'm sorry, you've Googled the wrong thing. But friends, today, talking about what I think the Oilers' odds to win the Stanley Cup are, minus the whole betting aspect of the word odds. Friends, this is Dolynny TV. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome aboard, or welcome back to the channel as we get set for today's little Edmonton Oilers detour discussion, as we just have a little minimal news. We might get to that in a video later on today, but you can pretty much check out Patrick from the Oilers Fanatics short on that, and that will pretty much in a minute sum up everything you need to know that happened in Edmonton Oilers land today. So, yeah, that's why we're doing what we're doing right now. Before we get to that, the housekeeping notes though, my friends, if you're enjoying the video at any time, leave me a little simple feedback. If you've got a YouTube account, leave a like on the video. And secondary to that, if you're new to the channel and you've got a YouTube account and you're not subscribed yet to Dolynny TV, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We've amassed about 10,300 some odd crazy Oilers fans here on the channel. And I'm sure by the end of this video, if we really get going where I think this video could, we could really get the damage done and go somewhere here because of today and me asking you. Alright, that was more complicated than it needed to be. Well, are you ready for the complicated factors of this video? What you need to know is the Oilers have had this up-down, all-around NHL season so far. Would you agree with me? I think we'd all agree that this hasn't necessarily been the cakewalk that some people might have expected for the Edmonton Oilers this season. So with that, right, now we have to take that into mind when we come out with our final calculation. Think about this as a big, long math equation where we come out with, is it reasonable to think the Oilers will win the Stanley Cup? It's not a mathematical like plus 200 odds. No, we're not talking about betting odds. We're talking about just reasonability in terms of, okay, is it reasonable? Is it unreasonable? Is it within reason? Is there a higher chance because we've started rolling? Kind of that, right? Just the kind of what it feeling, gut feeling chance, the gut feeling odds. That's what I'm getting at today. Is just one of those kind of discussions as we go through this kind of quieter next 2 weeks here in Oilers land, with the All-Star break this week being quiet, and of course the week after being our off week following the All-Star break. So let's get to it. We know an up and down start to the season. We know currently the Edmonton Oilers are on a 6-game winning streak. We know that at the start of that 6-game winning streak, we needed to do some pretty incredible things to even stay in contention for a playoff spot, if the magical cut line to make the NHL playoffs is 93 points. The Oilers now, at 57 or 58, I want to say, somewhere in there. We'll get the actual numbers here. And pardon with me, I'm going to scramble around. It's been a long day at work. It's been one of those where I think this is just as much me asking you to think about questions, kind of like a self-help book in a way, as we go through this video. The Oilers currently sitting in 7th in the Pacific Division with 57 points, 27 wins, 18 losses, and 3 overtime or shootout losses in 48 games played this year. So math that out right now. The Oilers are at 57 points in 48 games, which projects out to be 97.4 points. So plus or minus 98, 97, somewhere in there is our playoff starting total to get us our seeding, right? So we should be probably projecting to be within reasonably that top 3 spot in the Pacific Division. The LA Kings winning last night boot us back into a wild card, or winning on Sunday, I guess, boot us back into a wild card spot for now. The Seattle Kraken are there with 59, and the Vegas Golden Knights are atop the division with 60 points. The Oilers, though, they're on a 6-game win streak, and when you consider LA's got 3 losses, the Seattle Kraken have 3 losses, and the Vegas Golden Knights have 4 losses in their last 5 games. That kind of makes why it's so tight. So, the first question I would have for you that I want you to ponder, and I will work through it with you, is simply for the Oilers, is this win streak a sign of the team they actually are? Is it a sign of the team they can be? Or is it a sign of the team that they will be in the playoffs? That's the question that really you have to ponder to sit here and start exploring if the Oilers' odds of winning the Stanley Cup are really good in terms of a gut feeling or really bad, right? Obviously, this is eliminating the negativity homers and the positivity homers that, right, blind faith that the Oilers are going to lose or blind faith that the Oilers are going to win. Kind of those of us who openly question things when things are bad, openly question things when things are good, right? Never too high, never too low, but living on the ups and downs as they come. So that's the first question you got to kind of see is this 6-game win streak a true reflection of what the rest of the Oilers' year through the regular season and playoffs is going to be, or is this just some kind of blip in the radar and the Oilers maintain kind of the pace they're on, but they don't maintain this dominant streak that they've been on, i.e. this 6-game win streak. Obviously, number 2, and you have to almost immediately follow it up, is the strength of the schedule remaining. Everybody has hounded me all year long saying, well, the Oilers' second half is so much easier. The Oilers' second half is just going to allow them to cakewalk to the playoffs. That's fine, 100%. Is, you know what, okay, if you can play the strength of the schedule, you are good. My counterpoint to that, and as it always is with the Oilers, is just because the opponent's easy, does that mean the Oilers are guaranteed to win, right? You think about those Anaheim Ducks and San Jose Sharks games. I think there was a little apprehension going into that Ducks game because a term I use very often, trap game, right? That game back in December against the Ducks, Saturday afternoon at Rogers Place, the Oilers fell into a trap against the Ducks and lost a game that at that point could have turned things around had they won. So the Oilers end up losing that game and then having to face the Ducks again just shortly a month later. And yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety. Man, if we lose against the Kings and then against the Ducks and then we got San Jose, Seattle, and Vegas next, oh my goodness, this is not good. But the Oilers have instead pulled off the inverse of that outcome and gone out there and won 6 in a row following the loss against the LA Kings. So if that is, again, back to question 1, where you think that this 6-game win streak is a reflection of the Oilers, where they can beat the top teams in close-knit, tight games towards the end of the game, clamp down, win via defense, and B, beat up on the weaker, worse teams that are out of the playoffs at right now's current standings, then 100% I think you would be sitting here saying that the strength of the Oilers' schedule will absolutely allow them to not only make the playoffs, but build that Stanley Cup winning team via what you need to do by winning games now, right? That team mentality, everything that's kind of been taking shape over the past 6-7 games. Cool. So that's point number 2. Number 3 is, with or without upgrades, is this team good enough to get out of the first round? And I mean, we'll kind of look at, when it comes down to it for the Edmonton Oilers, a couple of first round potential matchups. If you get into the 2-3 seed, you're more than likely facing any of Vegas, Seattle, or LA. Should you stay in that second or first wildcard spot right now, you are more than likely facing either Vegas, Seattle, LA, right? Is no matter what, it's going to be a Pacific Division matchup if you are within that first wildcard spot or 2-3 in the division. 2-3 obviously, first wildcard spot just based on current standings, with Vegas having less points than Dallas. That's how it lines up. So you've got somehow, some way, more than likely a Pacific Division matchup to start the playoffs. No matter where you finish in these playoffs, so long as you finish first wild card or within the division itself. Because I guess if the Oilers keep going on a tear, there is a chance they would face whoever's in that 2 seed, whether that be Colorado or Calgary, and you can argue which way that's going to be, or if Nashville includes, or if St. Louis includes. So there's 5 Pacific Division teams in the playoffs at current, but there's more likely chance just based on games played and kind of these teams being who they are, Nashville and St. Louis and Colorado, that you could also very likely face a central team. Say 50-50 for the math we need, right? Not plus 200 or any of those betting odds. No, we just need the simple this or that, and that would be 50-50 realistically but probably leaning in favor of a Pacific Division matchup. So, given that, I think last year everybody would have said, hey, if the Oilers had to face a Central Division team in the first round of the playoffs, they would have been hooped and out. Well, okay, now if you have to face these Pacific Division opponents, I think you can say, yeah, 100% we're going to win. But I think also against the Central Division, the teams that you could potentially face there if you finish as the first place in the division. And this is me hedging my bets too on my gut feeling that the Oilers are not a second place wildcard team. That, hey, guess what? Okay, we're either playing a Pacific Division team with home ice advantage, or not Pacific Division, sorry, Central Division team with home ice advantage, or we're playing a Pacific Division opponent with home ice TBD. That's kind of how it would line up in my mind, at least. So that's where the Oilers sit, right? Is I think most of us would say, should, if, and when this Oilers team makes the first round of the playoffs, they will win the first round. That's Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Zach Hyman will not accept any other outcome. You talk about what happens if the outcome comes to fruition, but just based on the seasons they're having, it seems physically impossible, gut feeling, if the Oilers are there, that they don't at least go around and plus, right? Whether it be a 4-game sweep in the second round, that's neither here nor there. I think most of us, reasonable Oilers fans, would say, yes, if this Oilers team makes the playoffs, they are winning round one. I saw what they did last year against LA. They've learned some lessons. They've got the same forward group. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins are better than ever. And the young guys, the depth guys, are starting to step up. So without additions or subtractions, do the Oilers win the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs? Yes, I think 100% we can guarantee that just at current based on how it looks. Now, obviously, again, this is why as a lifelong Oilers fan and a true blue Oilers fan, I would tell you to never bet on the Oilers because honestly, I told you about it in the other video, the old Spider-Man line from the newer Spider-Man movies. If you expect disappointment, you'll never be disappointed. Well, truer words have never been said when living the reality us Oilers fans do. So, give me a second to sneeze. And here we go, right? So that's 3 out of the way. Now, right, is after that, I think getting past the first round of the playoffs is kind of a litmus test of what kind of playoff team you are, how many injuries you occur, and what you're going to be able to do the rest of the way. I think we'd all agree on that as well. So if you've got that in your notebooks for this video, write that down. Yes, I agree. No, I don't agree, because this is where we divide ourselves from here. Is when it comes down to the odds of winning the Stanley Cup, after the first round, it is a complete crapshoot. Because, right, the first round is key injuries can change things for the best teams, key injuries can change things for the worst teams, vice versa. So, now you've got a crapshoot remaining. And this is where, if you believe Ken Holland is going to make the right upgrades at the deadline, if you believe the right guys step up at the right time, and you think this Oilers team has the components already with a couple additions in place to win the Stanley Cup, should they go on a tear, then probably there's a chance. But it also all comes down to, and here's what I'm going to say, is end of the day is the odds right now the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, crapshoot, right? I mean, it's a crapshoot for everybody. But when it really comes down to having that gut feeling, is I think most of us will be in or out on the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup depending on, and I think this really comes down to it, what the Boston Bruins do in round one. That's really all it comes down to at the end of the day for us here sitting in Edmonton is it's building that kind of storyline for the Bruins at this point that if they win round one, they're the Colorado Avalanche this year, right? They're the team that just, you know what, they were dominant all year, never a doubt. Everybody saw it coming from a mile away. And at the 46 game mark, they've lost 5 games in regulation all year. They have points in 41 of 46 games played. If they win round one, how do you stop them? And I mean, right, that's not a fear the Oilers have to worry about for, like, even if you win round one, you still have to win 2 rounds before you worry about the Bruins in the Cup final. But it's the same thing that, you know what, you can love or hate Daryl Sutter. And this is the best part about veteran coaches that coach like Daryl Sutter is they assess the situation very bluntly. Is when he was asked in that first round against the Dallas Stars, what did you think of the Nashville Predators getting swept by the Colorado Avalanche? And he said, it's a waste of 8 days to play that team this year. Well, you know what? The Oilers found that out only 2 rounds later, right? Is after the first round, Game 7 victory against the LA Kings, go in, absolutely mop the floor with the Flames after an 80s throwback in Game 1. And then, guess what? End of the day is we wasted 8 days playing the Colorado Avalanche because ain't no team was going to stop them on their way to the Stanley Cup final because you threw the Edmonton Oilers with supernova Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, who led the playoffs in points despite only playing 4 games up to the third round. And here you end up here with the Colorado Avalanche beating the 2-time defending Stanley Cup Champa. Yeah, I guess Champa would be the right word. That's why I'm trying to say it. Champa Bay Lightning, right? That's the kind of situation we're starting to see with the Bruins. So, when we calculate this all the way through, right, as I've given you every little piece of information you could possibly need, I hope the self-help guide here has helped, and I hope you've written down your notes and you've kind of taken your pointers when you've gone along, right, is when you look at this team and you kind of break it all out and you try and figure out how it all comes together, is 1 through 4 or 5 or wherever I've gotten to at this point, is everything along the way, does it add up to beating a team of destiny akin to the Colorado Avalanche last season in more than likely the team you would face in the Stanley Cup final so long as they are not ousted in round 1, the Boston Bruins. Right? All of 1 through 4 aside, or 1 through 3, I've lost track. Trust me, I didn't write notes for this. Like I said, I'm helping myself through this. I'm answering it in real time, and you're writing down the answers along the way and coming to a conclusion when I ask you the question at the end, which I just did. But when it comes down to it for the Oilers, right, everything that I've asked so far, you take the gut feelings, you take your thoughts on that, add it up. What are the odds that at the end of the day, you can beat whoever's sitting there at the end of the road in the East? And if it indeed is a team of destiny, like the Oilers faced in the Colorado Avalanche last season in the Western Conference Final, this year more than likely being the Boston Bruins, because it does not seem like the Pacific Division nor the Central Division have one of those teams until maybe the Oilers become that team. End of the day, do you think, gut feeling, the Oilers could take the Boston Bruins mano a mano right now? Right? And I think, yeah, sure, you can talk about the additions like we did and stuff, and obviously it's a calculation of all those steps along the way, but end of the day, just gut feeling right now, right? And that's where we're checking in. We're not checking in April 15th. We're not checking in May 22nd. We're checking in January 24th, 2023, asking what are the odds the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup this year, just as a regular old Oilers fan, asking an innocent question. Hey, right? It's the same thing you'd ask your buddy. It's the same thing your wife would ask you. It's the same thing you'd ask your wife. Heck, I don't know how these conversations go out in day to day. I have a couple of them, and I know how they go for me. I don't know how they go for you. But, right, whether it be you asking your uncle that lives in Saskatchewan, whether it be you asking your cousin that lives in England, right, however it goes. What are the odds the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, right? That's a question that I think even, and this is why I framed it as a non-betting conversation, is it's a regular conversation us Oilers fans have throughout the year. And right, as this up and down season has gone along, there's been times, hey, I've been there too, does not look good. We literally could miss the playoffs. That's how bad this looks. And then, well, no, actually we're now on a 6-game winning streak, and I've never been more high. And that's kind of where this is all coming from. We've lived the ups and downs. We've gotten the polar opposite extremes of the both seasons this year. So now let's ask ourselves, right? End of the day, I've laid it all out. Every single question you need to ask. I don't need to ask about the depth scoring and the goaltending or the defense. It's just kind of your gut feelings based on what you know of this team, what you believe to be true with this team. At the end of the day, if the Boston Bruins or whoever else in the Eastern Conference, and you've answered all the other questions, are standing there. So say it's another team in the Eastern Conference, how comfortable, what's your gut feeling? If it's a team of destiny like the Boston Bruins, akin to the Colorado Avalanche last season, what's your feelings? That's what this is. This is not me telling you what the odds are. This is not telling me, hey, you should book a ticket for plus 200 on the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup and it'll cash this amount if I'm correct. This is not what this is. This is just a gut check feeling time check-in with Oilers fans to see what you are feeling, your personal odds on the Oilers are to win the Stanley Cup. Are you expecting disappointment? Or are you expecting this to realistically be, finally, at long last, depending on whatever factors you want to throw in that have kind of answered along with the questions I asked, is this the year? Or are we still cautiously optimistic? Or are we still very negative feeling towards the Oilers achieving anything? Let me know in the comments section below. Friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Like I said, I was just coming here to talk today. I told you, literally, Patrick over on the Oilers Fanatic did a 1-minute video today. That is how we are feeling on a Tuesday off day before the Oilers get back to action tomorrow. The Oilers split up practice today. Heck, we're just going off the wall today. There's no reason to stress about the reality of the situation. There's no big trade talk. That was yesterday. Gavrikov, you see that Patrick and I both put up Looney Tunes numbers on that. So there's no need to beat down old trade rumors and try to generate clicks on anything other than, hey, you know what? Patrick chose to just take it simple today, give you the news the easiest, most compact way you can. Trust me, you'll see more YouTube shorts out of us. I promise you moving forward, but hey, I chose to instead take the longest long form you can on Oilers YouTube and talk for over 20 minutes about just checking in on your gut feeling for this season in January. Friends, have yourself a great evening. I'm going to go enjoy a nice, relaxing rest of the night, get to bed about 9:30, go to work, hopefully zened up a little bit, and maybe book a trip out to Kananaskis in a week's time to see if I can just kind of relax on that weekend without Oilers hockey. Friends, have a great night. I've talked too long. I forgot how to leave this video alone. Goodbye.